We finally reached the final regular season game this Sunday against the Detroit Lions. Going to be a fun one, going to be an exciting one, even though we still can make the playoffs. Hopes are basically lost at this point. Need a couple teams to lose their games, like the Green Bay Packers, the New Orleans Saints, and the Seattle Seahawks in order for us to get in. But we also have to focus on beating Detroit first if we want that to happen. So week 18, it's the last week. We have to take a look at the final Week 18, or the final week injury report for our Minnesota Vikings, and then we'll take a look at who is out for the Detroit Lions. So before we get to the news, make sure to subscribe to the channel. All right, so who's out and who's in for the Minnesota Vikings? Got a lot of people that are banged up on this roster, and it sucks. It is what it is, but that is what is to be expected, at least at this point in the season. So the Vikings will be without several key players for the regular season finale Sunday against the Detroit Lions. Starting right tackle, Brian O'Neill has been ruled out due to an ankle injury he aggravated in the team's loss to the Packers. I believe it was just a couple weeks ago where Brian O'Neill exited the game early, sat out basically the rest of that game, and then he was able to play the following week after that. He re-aggravated that against the Green Bay Packers. Now, 2 of the 3 top corners will be out, with Byron Murphy set to miss his 3rd straight game due to a knee injury and an ankle, and rookie, I should say, Mekhi Blackmon is also missing with a shoulder injury. So right then and there's 3 big names that we have to worry about not playing this Sunday. Brian O'Neill, that right side of the offensive line, going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. 2 corners, Byron Murphy Jr., who's played, I think, exceptionally well this season. There's been a couple times where you're like, what are you doing? But I think he's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader in that secondary. So it's a bummer that he'll be out. Mekhi Blackmon, he's a rookie. He's been playing pretty decent ball, better than what we thought Andrew Booth Jr. Was supposed to do last year. He didn't pan out. He might get more snaps. Actually, that is going to be the case. It's going to be a Caleb Evans and Andrew Booth Jr. basically manning the corner positions for our Minnesota Vikings against Detroit, which could be good, or it could be back. That's basically what we just, talked about right there. The second-year corner, Andrew Booth, is expected to get a bulk of the snaps alongside of Caleb Evans, and maybe some other guys might get some reps. It all depends on how this game is really looking to end, all right? So now, who else is out? Well, Jalen Naylor, who has a concussion, safety Theo Jackson, who's dealing with a toe injury, and defensive lineman Jacqueline Roy, an ankle injury, are all out for the trip to Detroit. So these guys are out, and they will not make the trip. The other guys, I believe, are flying to Detroit or are traveling with the team to Detroit, that being Brian O'Neill, Byron Murphy Jr., and Mekhi Blackmon. So those 3 will be there. Jalen Naylor, Theo Jackson, and Jacqueline Roy will not go to Detroit, but needing a win. And other results, like we talked about earlier, need 3 teams to lose. We need to win, and we're in. Okay, if the Packers win, there's no hope for us. Doesn't matter if we win or lose. The Packers automatically will get that 7th seed. Now, to make the playoffs, the Vikings could be without 3 of their starting linemen. All right, as left tackle Christian Darrisaw is dealing with an injury or an illness, and guard Ed Ingram, who's dealing with a shoulder injury, are both listed as questionable for Sunday's game. We dealt with this for a couple weeks now. How healthy is our offensive line going to be? Everyone's basically really worried about it. I think at this point in the season, all hope is kind of lost for a lot of you fans out there. Not for me, though. Okay, if there's a chance to make the playoffs, I'm all in. Okay, I am all in. Now, we could get to the top 10 pick, which would be fantastic. Maybe slide in a quarterback right there. Jaden Daniels, J.J. McCarthy. I don't care. Let him learn under Kirk Cousins for 2 years because we got to extend him, make J.J. happy, and then bada bing, bada boom, the rest falls in place. But hey, the playoffs are on the line. The Minnesota Vikings can still make the playoffs, so we have got to win this ball game. And Detroit is going to play this game without 3 key players, one being wide receiver Jamison Williams, dealing with an ankle injury, tight end Brock Wright, dealing with a groin injury, and edge rusher James Houston, who's on IR with an ankle injury. He is supposed to be, or evaluation days remaining is only 13, so we have 13 days to evaluate him and decide whether or not they want to bring him up to the active roster. Also, CJ Gardner-Johnson has 5 days to be activated to the active roster. I'd assume he will not play against the Minnesota Vikings, being that the Detroit Lions are already in the playoffs, and they've clinched a playoff spot, so there's no point in rushing him onto the field. Let him sit out, activate him Monday morning. Bam, he's ready for the playoffs right off the get-go. So that'd be smart for them, but that is what Detroit's dealing with. Not a lot compared to what we're dealing with at this point in the season. So you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments section below on how you think this game goes. Do you think we win this game, or do you think we lose? Maybe miss the playoffs. I hope if you're a Vikings fan, you don't think we're going to lose this game, because there's always a chance. All right, so let me know in the comment section down below. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It'd be much, much appreciated. Have a great rest of your night, folks, and Skol Vikes.